Welcome to our channel, where we update the most exciting, surprising, and emotional episodes from the most dramatic TV series from Beyond the Gates. In today's article, we will take you to a fascinating and shocking story of the character Chelsea. Let's step into this world full of twists and turns. Chelsea never thought that a simple genetic test would become the trigger for a storm of identity that swept her whole world away. It all started when she felt unusual symptoms in her body, not serious, but enough to make a cautious person like her go to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor advised her to do a series of genetic tests to rule out the risk of a rare genetic disorder. When the results came back, no one, including Chelsea herself, could have predicted the shocking truth waiting at the end of the road. On the genetic analysis report, a red note appeared at the top. There was no genetic link between the patient and the confirmed biological father. Chelsea read it over and over again, her eyes blurred, her heart pounding as if it would burst. Everything she had ever believed in was shattered in a few cold lines from an unfeeling lab. She was Bill's daughter, or at least, she had always believed it. But the biological evidence said otherwise. The man who had raised her, who had held her when she fell, was not the man who had given her blood and genes. Chelsea could not bear the silence. She took the report home, placed it on the kitchen table like an invisible knife, and faced Danny. The mother's eyes, once strong, full of courage, were now panicked, confused. As if a ghost from the past had just come to life. Danny held the paper, her hands shaking, her eyes fixed on the words as if frozen. No excuses, no tears. There was only a long, suffocating silence. Until Danny whispered, a choked sound that seemed to come from a rotting soul, that it was true. Danny's past, seemingly buried forever, suddenly resurfaced like a nightmare. As a rebellious teenager, she had attended an end-of-year party. The alcohol, the lights, and the rebellion of youth had led her astray. In a moment of blindness, Danny had been with Martin, a boy from school, handsome, somewhat arrogant, and especially untrustworthy. It was a night she never wanted to remember, but now it returned like a screaming monster in her memory. Danny never told anyone about that night, not even Bill, whom she later fell in love with and who was willing to accept Chelsea as her own. Danny believed that it was just a mistake, an accident that left no trace. But she was wrong. The biological evidence does not lie. Martin is Chelsea's biological father. Bill learned the truth when Chelsea gave him the results and Danny's broken confession. He was devastated. He had spent his whole life protecting them, building everything on a single belief: that they were family. The feeling of betrayal and deception for decades left him unable to stand. In a fit of rage, he smashed the family photo on the fireplace, a symbol of a love that now felt hollow. Martin, a man who has lived a private life for decades, not knowing that he has a daughter, is equally shocked when he receives a call from Danny. Meeting the woman from the past in this situation is something Martin never imagined. But instead of reacting with remorse, Martin is confused and upset. He does not want to be involved in a dormant past, and even less wants to be dragged into a broken family. However, when he sees Chelsea, a younger version of himself, and Danny, something in him changes. A small spark flares up in his heart, which has cooled down because of his youthful mistakes. Chelsea is now in a state of uncertainty. She does not know whether to be angry or compassionate. Bill, the father she loves the most, now slams the door of emotions in front of her. Danny is like someone who has just lost herself, unable to regain trust from her daughter. Martin, the man who has just entered her life, is a strange, conflicted character, and not easy to love. Chelsea is caught between three adults, each with their own burdens, and she bears the consequences of mistakes that are not her fault. The confrontation between Danny, Bill, and Martin ensues. In a tense meeting at the house where Chelsea grew up, the three sit across from each other, like three fronts in a war with no winner. Danny asks for forgiveness. But no one in the room is calm enough to accept the apology. Bill explodes like a bomb that has been held in for too long, accusing Danny of a lifelong betrayal. Martin, who was an outsider, is dragged into the situation as a criminal, and he cannot hide his resistance. The three are immersed in accusations, anger, and tears, while Chelsea stands silently. watching everything fall apart before her eyes. From an ambitious young woman, Chelsea gradually becomes cold and distant. She quits her job, leaves her family, and embarks on a journey to find herself. No one knows where she went, only that she disappeared like the wind, leaving a void that left Danny racked with guilt. Bill drowned in loss. And Martin, knowing the pain of fatherhood for the first time, began a journey to find his daughter at all costs. The city of Chelsea left without any recorded itinerary. As if she wanted to disappear from the map, from the sight of the three people who once made up her world. She rented a small room on the south coast, changed her name, cut off all contact, and lived with a new identity: no past, no origin, no father, no mother. On windy nights, she lay alone on her simple bed, looking at the cracked ceiling and wondering if love was ever real, or if it was all just a long series of things built to cover up the emptiness. Danny kept searching. From being the one who suffered the consequences, she gradually turned into a mad person in torment, knocking on the doors of every old acquaintance, hiring a private detective, looking up every bank transaction, every card swipe, every phone call that could leave a trace. Danny was willing to pay any price to see her daughter again. Bill was different. He accepted the truth like a cut that would never heal, choosing to remain silent. He did not forgive, nor did he blame, only buried everything that remained in his heart, like a locked chest hidden deep at the bottom of the ocean of emotions. Martin, unlike the two of them, began his journey to trace Chelsea's traces using his own memories. He went to every place she had studied, every coffee shop she frequented, every old newspaper article that mentioned her name. Even bought the painting she had drawn in her final year student exhibition. Martin didn't say it, but deep inside him was a strange remorse, not for creating Chelsea, but for not being there when she grew up, not knowing of her existence until it was too late. Then one day, Chelsea began to see strange things. An anonymous letter arrived in her small town. There was no postmark. It was an old photograph, a baby girl in the arms of a young woman. Not the one she had seen in her house. The woman, younger than Danny, didn't look at the camera. She was crying. Along with the photo was a small note. They never told you the whole truth. The handwriting was slanted and shaky, as if written by someone who had just gone through a shock. Chelsea was startled, but also compelled. Who sent it? Why now? One night, she returned to her room and found the door unlocked, even though she remembered locking it that morning. Everything was intact, nothing was missing, except for a handwritten note on the table: "You don't know who you are, Chelsea. Bill isn't your biological father. But Martin isn't necessarily the same person." Her heart stopped. Once again, the only foundation she had tried to build, however fragile, was crushed by a few vague lines. If Martin wasn't her biological father, then who? The question was a double-edged sword. It sowed hope, but also panic. Chelsea began a new journey, this time to find the truth that no one dared to tell. She secretly took a three-dimensional genetic test, comparing her own genetic code to Danny, Martin, and Bill, the three people who had once surrounded her like magnets. The results were surprising. She was genetically related to Danny, but not exactly in the mother-daughter pattern. There was a small discrepancy, enough to raise suspicion. She immediately requested a full examination, and the final result was like a punch to the heart. Danny was not the patient's biological mother. This time, Chelsea had lost not only her father but also her mother. The woman she called her mother, who lived with her, held her, and cared for her, was not of her blood. The nightmare of identity had now become a maze with no way out. Everything in her life, every name, every photo, every hug, every lullaby, turned out to be built from a vague script. Chelsea did not know who she was, where she came from, why she was born, and for whom. She returned, as suddenly as she had disappeared. Standing before Danny, her eyes were no longer angry, nor did she beg for answers. She just handed over the test results and remained silent. Danny collapsed like an old tree whose roots had been cut off. She confessed, there was no other way, that Chelsea was not her biological daughter. That year, when she was only 17, Danny loved Bill, but could not have children. After many years of hopelessness, she heard that a newborn baby had been abandoned at a mountain health station. No one claimed it. No one knew who the mother was. Danny hid Bill, brought the baby back, registered a fake birth certificate, and lived as if it was her own child. Martin had nothing to do with that baby. The story of a drunken night was a lie Danny made up to keep her last hope when Chelsea discovered that Bill was not her biological father. She was afraid of losing her child. So she was willing to create another father. But now, with all the truths revealed, there was nothing left to hide. Everything collapsed. Chelsea understood for the first time what it felt like to be erased from her own life. No father, no mother, no origin, no identity. She was a piece of the puzzle that did not fit into any picture. But then, in the darkness, she decided, if there was no origin, she would create it. She began a journey to trace her own past, looking for records of abandoned children at the same time and place. After months, she finally discovered, a nurse from years ago, now retired, had made notes about a clandestine birth in the middle of the night. The mother left no name. Only a rough fabric bracelet with the symbol R. That symbol became the only clue Chelsea clung to. And once again, in the darkness of the past, another door opened. A door leading to the secret of her bloodline, her real biological mother, and perhaps an unexpected background. Chelsea's story has only just begun. The mysteries of her identity, her origins, and the people behind her life will be revealed in the next parts, with many unpredictable twists. Don't miss the next developments of this journey to find the truth. Follow and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any exciting details. Thank you for always accompanying us.